Hello, and welcome to a new edition of FireWatch. This month on FireWatch, we're going to visit several homes in the city of Danville where we had fires. Most of these fires occurred from unattended cooking or heating related. I have here with me my assistant Richard Gwill, who's going to be with me through the entire show talking about the number of fires that we had here in the city of Danville. So stay with us. We have some important points to talk about to keep you safe throughout this winter season. Well, we've made it over to our first stop here on Stokes Street, and Lieutenant Gwill is going to tell us what happened here in this house and how we can keep you safe and this from not happening to you. Welcome again, Lieutenant Gwill, to FireWatch. You know, we've been busy with fires. We've had a lot of fires within the months of January, February, and this fire, we had someone to get injured. The gentleman got burned severely, even enough that we had to fly him out to another hospital for treatment. So tell us what happened here and how we can prevent this one from happening.
This is one of our heating fires. The gentleman had a kerosene heater that you can see here sitting on the porch. And what happened was he had it there in the hallway of this house, and he went to refuel this, this heater while it was still burning, which is something you should not do. If you're going to refuel one of these appliances, you need to turn it off, let it cool down, move it outside, fill it back up, and then move it back into its proper place and then relight it. That way you're not moving the heater while it's lit, or you're not introducing more vapor from the fuel while you're filling it up while you have that open flame going. What happened in this instance, he was filling it up with it actually still burning. And when he was filling it up, he spilled some of the fuel on his clothing, and then all of that ignited. And then when it ignited onto the heater itself, when he was moving it outside, his clothing caught fire, and it made it as far as this porch. And then when he got to the porch, it spread the fire all the way up the hallway and on this porch, and then he received severe burns from there.
Okay, well, we can see bringing his heater out. He tried to bring the heater out of the house, and that's why we got all this burning underneath the awning as well.
Right.
Now, one thing about this house, you see that the city has posted a condemned sign up here, but prior to the fire, this was a vacant house.
That's right. They had no power or utilities whatsoever going to this house, which poses a big problem for us too in the winter months as well, because people that may not have homes, or if you live there and you hadn't been able to pay your light bill or whatever and they turn the power off, people use all types of means to try to stay warm. And this was one case. It was using this type of heater to stay warm. So we tell people that if you know it's a house that's condemned, it's a house without power or electricity, and we know that people are staying in them, give the police department a call, let them come by and check on them, because we have a lot of fires that occur from people just trying to stay warm. There are other alternatives to staying warm. There's things that the utility department can try to do to help you to pay your bill maybe, or we have a homeless shelter, and then we also have other shelters, especially when it gets really cold, that will open up. Churches will let you stay there during the day, keep warm, and even serve you food. So there's other alternatives other than resorting to some makeshift way of staying warm inside of a house.
Okay, Richard, this is not the only type fire that we had with someone in a house that didn't have power. So we're going to move over to our next stop, and which is just a couple of streets over, and look at that house and see what happened there.
Okay.
We've made it over to our next stop, and we have another heating-related fire. This one is combustible too close to a heating source, and I mention that a lot in my media, whether it's news, the television show, radio, but sometimes our citizens don't exactly know what that means. So talk a little bit about that combustible too close to a heating source.
Okay, you need 3 foot of clearance between furniture, clothing, or anything else in that room, whether it be electrical or this type of fuel fire heater that we have here. And what we see a lot is people will take those where it gets really cold inside the house, whether it's drafty or it's just really cold outside, and they'll try to put it closer to the bed where they'll feel the heat better, or they'll even try to put clothing on it to dry it, to assist to use it kind of as a dryer. So we'll see that a lot where they put things too close to it. Laundry baskets, those types of things we've seen too close. And in this particular case, it was too close to a mattress. And actually it was almost touching the mattress is where this one was. And the heat from that heated that mattress enough to where it ignited and caused this particular fire. And again, this was one house with no power on it. There was no water or power here, and they was using this heater to stay warm. So it was on. Everything was kind of put in this room. As you can see, it's two beds in this room, which normally you wouldn't have two beds in this room. But you got the extra bed in here to use more of the heating from this this heater, so more people could stay warm in one room. They could shut the door, heat this one room, and so they wouldn't have to heat the whole entire house while they were sleeping. So you get things in here too tight, it's too close to the combustibles, and then you have a fire.
It's been extremely cold during January and February this year, and everyone is trying to use all they can to get warm. And we're seeing a lot of these kerosene heaters. We're seeing a lot of the little space heaters. But in these two occasions, again, it's the kerosene heaters, and they all heat up to a temperature where it can start a fire, combustibles. And like a lot of people, again, the word combustible, they're not getting it and not really understand what we're saying. So there's anything that has the potential that could easily ignite and catch on fire.
Right.
And it's clothing. Most every time it's laundry baskets, it's too close to the bed, bedding or pajamas or whatever's laying near.
Right.
So that 3-foot buffer, 3 foot, keep it all the way around and watch it. Now these heaters, they're for temporary use too. We talk about that a lot. So tell us about the temporary use.
They're not made to heat this entire house.
The primary source.
Right, it's not the primary source of heat. And we know that, times where money's tight and they can't afford to heat the house, or maybe something's broke and they're using these, they're really only supposed to be used to heat a room on a temporary basis, not as a constant heating. So if you leave this thing running continuously 24/7, 7 days a week, that's when you tend to have these fires. People get careless with them because they're used to having them inside of their house. So they'll throw things closer to it or move them closer, and that's when they get brave and they filled it 100 times. Why not this time fill it while it's burning? Nothing's happened the other 2 or 3 times they've tried it, or so they go ahead and they take those chances, and they get complacent when they're trying to fill these appliances with the fuel. Or if it's an electrical one, we see them where they move them from room to room, whatever their room is, and instead of having to unplug it and plug it back up, they'll use a very long drop cord. And then we have problems with those as well. It's too much power. These older houses weren't wired for all our technology today, whether it be computers, all our cell phones, laptops, everything that we plug in today, and then on top of it with our electric heaters. In the wintertime, it's electric heaters, and sometimes it's our air conditioners. So it's the same problem. We're going to overload these electrical sockets and circuits and cause fires. So make sure that you're not overloading with all of these, because like I say, one of these in one room is okay, but you start running 3, 4, 5 of those in a house, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah, a telltale sign is when you start turning on one of these appliances, your lights dim or you blow a fuse, or you have a surge. Then that way you're going to know I'm overloading too much. So then it's time not to do it and get an electrician to come in, and you may need to rewire your house and get more power coming to your home.
Right.
So Richie, we've been to 2, and guess what? I have a third one to take to. It was heating related. So let's move over across town, the other side of the river, and look at our third house. Okay, Richie, now we've made it over to another house, and this is also home heating related.
Right.
Tell our viewers what exactly happened here.
In this particular case, she was using portable heaters to keep the house warm. She had 2 kerosene heaters, which we've seen caused our other fires, and then she had an electric heater. In this particular case, the electric heater caused the fire instead of the kerosene heaters. And the cause was combustibles too close to that electrical heater. In this particular case, it was two ladies living in the house. One of them was asleep in the bed, in the bedroom where the fire actually occurred. The other one got up, saw the smoke, went in there and was able to get her up and get her out before she got burned by the fire. It was a really close case there with her. But there was a electric heater at the foot of the bed with a laundry basket sitting right beside of it that was too close. That laundry basket caught on fire along with the clothes, and then it spread to the entire rest of the room from there, from that electrical heater being too close to that laundry basket.
Okay, this is third home we visited so far, and they all heating related. Now, something a little bit more in this home that they were very fortunate to get out, and we were too. Storage. What about storage of this flammable liquid in these homes?
Right. When we went in and we was doing our investigation, we found she had a large quantity of kerosene that was actually stored inside of the house, which makes it convenient. You don't have to go outside and get your fuel in the cold. They can just bring it in, but it kind of breaks all of our rules. One thing is filling our kerosene heaters inside. We say to bring them outside, make sure they're off and let them cool down. And then the actual storage of that kerosene inside of the house makes it even more dangerous. If the fire had gotten far enough down the hallway to where this was stored, obviously the fire would have been fueled by all of that kerosene and would have had a much larger fire, and it possibly could have trapped them inside. So the storage of the kerosene inside is a very dangerous thing to do.
Okay. All right. Well, I thank you for talking about some of the heating fires here in the city of Danville that we have had. So we're going to move over, and now we're going to talk about our #1 cause here in the city of Danville. And I'm sure my viewers know this because we talk about it almost every month, and that's unattended cooking. So we're going to move over and start talking about some of the cooking fires that we had here in the city. Now, Richie, we're going to talk about the other fires, and this one is one that we see a lot of unattended cooking. So tell us exactly what happened here.
In this particular case, they were cooking on the stove. The oil got too hot and ignited. And once the oil started burning, they tried to put some things on it to put it out, which didn't work. Usually we tell everybody to use a lid to put it out. And then once that didn't work, they tried to move it to the sink. And when they tried to move it to the sink, actually the water actually spreads the fire. And when they got it over to the water, the grease splashed out and spread the fire all over the cabinets, and the fire burned from there. So it was actually a fire in two places because it was actually moved.
Okay, a lot of times we're seeing this happen with the unattended cooking. The occupant will put something on the stove, and either they'll lay down or they go to another part of the house. And this oil is just so quick to heat up now, and these fires are starting. Now, they're telling me if they catch it, they're starting to throw stuff on it. I'm hearing from throwing water on it, they're throwing flour on it, they're throwing salt on it, baking soda, number of things they're throwing on it, other than having a fire extinguisher. And we talk about that a lot, you know,
Right.
how good it is to have a fire extinguisher in your kitchen. So let's talk a little bit about that fire extinguisher. And at this point in time, if they don't have one, tell me what they need to do to combat these fires.
Right. Well, we know that using a fire extinguisher is probably your best method of putting it out if it's gone too far to where you can't get a lid on it. So if we're going to use an extinguisher, for one, if we've got one, we got to be able to get to it. We see people that do buy them, have good intentions, and they put them under the counter, and then it gets shoved to the back, and then when they have the fire, they can't find it. So make sure that you put it out somewhere that you can get to it at all times. I've heard a lot of people say, well, they're ugly. They don't match my cabinets or, whatever it looks like in your kitchen. But, it's made to stand out. It's made to where when you look around, you see it. That's the whole purpose of it. You can get these extinguishers at, any of your retail stores, whether it be Walmart, Kmart, Lowe's, Home Depot. Any of these places you can go get extinguishers, and they don't have to be a huge extinguisher. I've actually seen the very smallest ones work for a stove fire, and it's all on being able to get in there and seeing that you do have a fire and being able to use it. Oil will smoke before it burns. You know, we've all cooked before and get the oil a little too hot, it'll start smoking. That's your warning that, hey, it's getting ready to ignite. And it doesn't have to have a spark or anything. It can go from smoking to free burning. And to where it gets hot enough, it'll auto ignite and it'll start burning. So we want to make sure that you stay in the kitchen, you're watching it at all times. If your oil starts smoking, turn it down, move it off the burner, let it cool back down before you use it anymore. Because once it starts smoking and you continue to heat it, it's going to start burning.
Okay, a lot of times the viewers will call me and ask that we give away fire extinguishers, and we do not give away fire extinguishers. We have the smoke alarm, but not the extinguisher. Hopefully someday I can find a grant or something to be able to help out with that, but that's just an important purchase that need to be made to have in your house at all times.
Right, and now if you went and built a brand new house today, it's in the code that you have to have an extinguisher in that kitchen before you can occupy that house. And that's because we're having so many fires. It's the #1 cause of fires in the United States, but most definitely within the city of Danville.
So if you don't have the fire extinguisher, put a lid on it, correct?
Right.
Okay, put a lid on it and reduce the heat. Call the fire department. You may think it's out, but call the fire department. Let us come look and make sure that the fire hadn't gotten up in your cabinets or into your vent hood, that you won't have a fire later on during the night. Richard, we're going to switch gears a little bit here. We're starting to, it's going to warm up here pretty quick, and people are going to want to get out and start cleaning up their yards. Now, February the 15th, our burn ban came into effect. Explain the burn ban and what our citizens can burn and what they cannot burn, and if they need a burn permit, what do they need to do?
Okay, February the 15th, the Commonwealth of Virginia has a law that comes into effect from February 15th until April the 30th. And that means that you can't burn before 4 p.m. And if you burn after 4 p.m., it can't be within 300 foot of any woodland. So it kind of brings it away from the woods to where you'll have an isolated patch of whatever you're trying to burn, so the fire won't extend into the woodland. The reason for this fire ban until 4 o'clock is because during the springtime wind picks up and we have lower humidity, and that's the ingredients you need to have a fire, is low humidity and the wind to fuel it. After 4 o'clock the humidity tends to rise some and the wind dies down, so that's why they give you that window between 4 o'clock and midnight. It has to be completely out at midnight, and that's again from February 15th to April 30th. Now in the city of Danville we have regulations on burning that's in effect year-round, and that limits what you can burn and what you cannot burn. You cannot burn anything that is to deal with construction or anything like that. The only thing you're allowed to burn is natural vegetation, whether it be something like this that you would cut down and then pile up. And we ask you to keep the piles at a minimum, very small size, something that you can maintain with a rake and your garden hose. You have to have something out there with you while you're burning to be able to put it out in case it does start getting out of control. If the wind does pick up, have some means of being able to fight that fire, whether it be rake and a garden hose, a rake and buckets of water, something that you can fight that fire with if it does become unruly, out of control with you. So those are the things. Now, our burning regulations limit to where these piles can be. It can't be within 50 foot of a structure that you own, and it cannot be within 300 foot of anybody else's structure that they live in or own. So if it is within that 300 feet, you have to get written permission from your neighbors that's saying, yes, you can burn within these premises within 300 feet of their property. And that just protects them, so if you do have a fire and it gets out of control and it doesn't burn their property without them knowing. So again, that's 50 foot from any occupied structure of your own and 300 foot of any structure that belongs to anyone else other than you within the city.
And I like what you said about notifying your neighbors. There are reasons to do that. There are a lot of people that have breathing problems, asthma and whatnot. You don't want to burn and then you upset the neighbors. You may have somebody do laundry. A lot of people still like to hang laundry.
Right.
And so you want to be neighborly and just let everybody know that you're going to burn. Now, if it becomes a nuisance, whether permission or not from someone, what's going to happen?
If it becomes a nuisance, we start getting calls on it, the smoke and the ash and that type of thing, we'll have to extinguish that fire. And also, if your fire gets out of control and it does start burning into your neighbors, you may be liable to replace whatever burns. So you have to be mindful of that as well.
So that's the information they need for just a yard clearing up and things like that. Now, I mentioned permitting,
Right.
having to get a permit. What's the difference in someone calling us to get a permit to burn and then someone just cleaning their yards?
Our permitting burns are much larger in size, and then we have stipulations on that, on pile size, where it can be. You have to have equipment there that's being monitored at all times, and that equipment is to put fire lines around it and be able to push up any debris and maintain that fire line. And then such, if any of it does get out of control, they can use that piece of equipment to contain it wherever it got out of control at. So that's our permitting burning. So if you have a pile other than just our natural vegetation, small fires, if you started getting large, where it's large enough to where you would feel kind of uncomfortable burning it, we start getting into our permitting. Then we have to come out, we look at it. You have to pay, it's $100 on those permitting fees to burn those, and those fees can cover us coming out, looking at it, make sure it's okay, and then coming back and checking on you while you're burning to make sure that you're meeting all the requirements. And then if all those requirements aren't met and we have to extinguish it, and then you may have to pay for us to actually extinguish it, because when you get a fire of that magnitude, it takes a lot to extinguish it once it's burning.
Yeah, and Richie, about some of the people who are going to start cleaning and burning around the yard, is it a good idea to let the stuff kind of like dry out and die, because it's going to burn a lot faster?
Right. Well, you tell people to let it, pile it up and let it sit for a few weeks. That way it'll start to dry up. And if it's green, it still have a lot of moisture inside of it. And when it starts burning, it's going to produce a lot of smoke, because it has to dry it out first before it'll burn. So that's when we start getting our complaints, when we get a lot of smoke, and that's when your neighbors are going to complain. And you know, everyone's got a cell phone, so every time when someone sees smoke, they're going to call 911. And if we don't know that you're burning or you're creating a lot of smoke, we have to respond. And it's putting our firefighters at risk and that type of thing, answering these calls, and the citizens at risk. Every time we pass someone with the lights and sirens on, there's a potential for an accident. So we want to make sure that you're, if you're going to burn even small, there's nothing wrong with giving us a call at the Fire Marshal's office and telling us what you're going to do. And if you have any questions, we can come out and look at it and offer you any safety tips that we can before you start burning.
Okay, I have one more thing on this burning. You have been very, very active in catching people illegal burning. What is some of the things that's being burned in the city that is going to get someone a citation and court and fines and fees? And
Right.
just tell me all about that, because it happens here in Danville.
We have a lot of people that will try to make money on the side, whether it be with copper wiring, where they'll strip wiring out of a house or whatever. And the only way it's valuable is to get that plastic off of the wiring. So they'll burn it fairly quickly, get it brittle, then they can strip it. Makes it a whole lot easier, a quicker job. They can in turn make money off of that, which is illegal in the city of Danville. It goes against our burning regulations. It's not a natural vegetation. It falls into our construction debris, and it's also a petroleum product in that particular thing. So yes, you will, if you're burning those type of material, or if you're on one of these houses that the city said is, has to come down, and you start tearing it down and you're piling it up and burning it, that's a construction debris as well. These are Class 1 misdemeanors, which carry up to a $2,500 fine and a year in jail, or both. So it is a serious offense, and we take that burning seriously because it only takes a small fire to spread to a large fire within the city. Our houses are close together. It's fairly easily spread from one house to another, and you're putting a lot of people at risk when you're having these types of fires.
Okay. Well, Richie, you've been very valuable to us here today on FireWatch. We've gone over several homes, and we've looked at some burning houses that's result from not illegal, but improper heating, using these kerosene heaters, what started those fires and how we can prevent it. We talked a little bit about cooking. We talk about cooking fires every month. and it's becoming a problem here in the city of Danville, and we need to get a handle on it and stop these fires before somebody really, get in some trouble because of it. And also, you've gone over our burning, which we're getting kicked up, getting ready for the spring to clean up around. So we appreciate all you've done, and anytime our viewers have questions, they can call us at the station, 799-5226, and we're available to come out and discuss any problem you have, give you some safety pointers, some safety tips, because we want to keep all our residents here in the city safe and happy in the city of Danville. But that's what we have for you this month on FireWatch, and continue to watch us. Each month we try to come out and give you some safety points to keep you here with us in the city of Danville and make you have a safe place to live, work, shop, and worship. Until next time, be safe.
Hot, hot, hot.